Crazy drama on paternity court.
So I'm lying on you?
Yes, you are lying.
I caught the phone call. You told me about the dude.
You're lying.
You told me about the dude.
Well, I was in there 2 weeks ago. They're not closed. I was in there.
They gave me my whole
How?
How was the doctor?
How?
Joseph, somebody
Come on, you found an empty building.
Please, knock it off.
What do you think her motive was here?
She didn't believe I was
Look
gonna
at
go
me.
to the doctor appointment.
Mr. Dansby is in court seeking a DNA test to determine if he's the father of Miss Simpson's 3-year-old son, Tenoris. Miss Simpson countersues for child-rearing expenses totaling $3,361.56. Mr. Dansby claims he waited 3 years due to Miss Simpson's dishonesty and hints at her involvement with another man. Simpson counters that Dansby avoided previous test requests.
I had been trying to get you to do a DNA test, but you chose to run. You didn't want to go to the child support place to do the DNA test.
Is that true, Mr. Dansby?
So,
Ma'am, that's not true. Miss Simpson, she had been lying. I had doubt about this kid, Tenoris. If this so much as my son, she have not let me see. I don't even know the kid.
Mr. Dansby explains that he met Miss Simpson through a mutual friend and moved into her home. One school morning, while getting her kids ready and Miss Simpson was in the shower, Dansby answered a call from another man on her phone. Confronting her later, she claimed the man paid her phone bill. She denies Dansby's account.
I just so happened caught the phone call. It was another dude.
I don't
Like,
recall
was
of that
him.
phone call. I
And
don't
later
recall
on,
of that.
I had talked to Miss Simpson about the strange phone call, and she told me that it was the dude that was paying her phone bill.
No.
So I'm lying on you?
Yes, you are lying.
I caught the phone call. You
But
told
like I
me
said,
about the
you're
dude.
lying.
You told me about the dude.
Well,
Mr. Dansby said that when Miss Simpson announced she was pregnant, he had doubts about being the father from the start. Despite his doubts, he acted happy to avoid ruining the moment for Miss Simpson. They were in a relationship and expecting a baby together. Later, Dansby claims Miss Simpson told him over the phone that Tenoris was not his child.
Miss Simpson stated over the phone that Tenoris wasn't none of my child.
when did she say this?
Okay, and that
It was
came
like,
about-
it was in 3 months out, before he was even born.
It was not 3 months.
I had
Hold
been
on.
calling you the
I
whole-
want to understand this. Get me to this conversation 3 months before the baby was even born where you say she told you the baby wasn't even yours.
Miss Simpson told Mr. Dansby that Tenoris wasn't his child as she didn't want uncertainty regarding his involvement. This led to a psychotic moment where she told that she later confirmed there was another potential father and admitted this to Dansby 3 months into her pregnancy.
Were you sleeping with anyone else?
It was a possibility of someone else. So,
So you admit there was another man?
yes, Your Honor, it was.
At what point did you admit that there was another man?
It was maybe 3 months into the pregnancy.
So that is the conversation he's speaking about when you said this is not even your child?
Yes.
In July 2012, Tenoris was born. Mr. Dansby wasn't at the hospital due to a lack of contact, but another man was present. Miss Simpson admitted that this man was someone she'd previously been involved with before and after Dansby. By October 2014, Dansby met Tenoris for the first time. So, who is the father? Only DNA results can tell.
Mr. Dansby, you are Tenoris' father.
Thank you. Thank you.
I feel
And I
feel
can't
good
walk
about the
up and
results.
say that I'm sorry for all the trouble that I have took you through. So now can we start out to a better start for our child?
Sure.
Yes! Yes!
Judge Lake addresses Miss Poe about her petition to prove Mr. Tarver is the father of her 19-month-old son, Joshawn. Miss Poe asserts that Mr. Tarver has provided no support, while he disputes the claims, suggesting he has some involvement in the child's life. Their disagreements lead to a psychotic moment in paternity court.
He's done nothing for this little boy.
No, Your Honor, he ain't did nothing. He ain't bought him a diaper, he ain't bought him a shoe, he ain't bought him a shirt. He don't do anything for my son.
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm dead serious. He don't do anything for him. He call him once in a while, that's it.
Once in a
That's
while?
not
I
being
don't
a
call him
father.
every day. I don't see him at least 3-4 times a
That's
week.
not being a father, Your
I don't call
Honor.
him every day?
No, you don't.
Tarver and Poe dispute the events of a particular night. Mr. Tarver questions why it took Miss Poe 3 hours to arrive when she was only 5 blocks away, and mentions she arrived with 3 men. Miss Poe retorts that another woman was present when she arrived. The two continue to debate about the revelation of Miss Poe's pregnancy.
Mr. Tarver
5 blocks away, it took you 3 hours to pull up with 3 dudes in the car?
Mr. Tarver was when I got there.
5
but
hours.
the girl was
5 blocks
there.
away, it take 3 hours to pull up with 3 dudes in the car?
There was another girl there.
Okay.
He said he wanted to go to sleep.
There was no
he
other
fell
girl there.
asleep
And did you not
on
leave
the
and go back and lay with him?
Yeah, absolutely I left, but I
Okay
did not
then.
go leave and
Okay then.
lay with another man.
All right, I need specific stories. What happened?
Miss Poe acknowledges that she initially told Mr. Tarver she was 2 months pregnant based on information from Planned Parenthood. After getting a urine test, she was informed she was approximately 8 weeks pregnant. A month after that, she had an ultrasound, which indicated she was only 6 weeks pregnant. Mr. Tarver finds the timeline suspicious.
So a month later, you went for an ultrasound,
Yes.
and they told you you were only 6 weeks.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did
It don't add up.
Mr. Tarver go to any of the doctor's
No,
appointments
he
with
did
you?
Honor,
not.
one-
He didn't go.
There was one-
not
Your
one
Honor,
doctor's appointment
May
with
I speak
me.
now? May I speak?
You didn't let me talk.
All right, go
Okay,
ahead.
both of you, just one at a time.
Mr. Tarver claims that he and Miss Poe went to a supposed doctor's office, but upon arrival, found a sign on the door indicating that they had moved to another address 3 months prior. Despite the sign, Miss Poe insisted that she had been there 2 weeks ago and that they provided her prenatal care.
So when you read that,
when I'm like, this not. I'm telling her at the time, this isn't a doctor. That's when she argued me. I was in there 2 weeks ago. They're not closed. I was in there.
They gave me my whole prenatal care. How was the doctor? Joseph, somebody
Come
referred
on, you
me
found
there.
the empty building.
Please, knock it off.
what do you think her motive was here?
She didn't believe I was
Look
gonna
at
go
me.
to the doctor appointment.
Okay.
Miss Poe accuses Mr. Tarver of advising her not to give the child his last name to avoid child support. In contrast, Mr. Tarver alleges that Miss Poe wanted him to leave quickly because she was speaking with her boyfriend. Amidst the tension, the audience reacts in shock. Mr. Tarver clarifies that he does wish the child is his.
You wanted this child to have your last
I named him.
lying.
I named
He's
him.
lying.
Mr. Tarver, why would you name the child and want him to have your last name if you didn't believe you
That
were
was
the
your child.
biological
I don't
father?
think-
I'm not
Boy.
saying I don't want him to be mine. Why play this role if this not what it is?
Did you have doubts when you were naming him? And
Of course.
you did.
In court, Mr. Tarver brings forward a witness, Rosie Jones, who identifies herself as his fiancée. Miss Jones claims she's heard multiple people claim paternity of Miss Poe's child. Miss Poe retorts, asserting that Miss Jones doesn't know her and that she's also heard many things about Miss Jones from Mr. Tarver. Did the DNA result justify her statement?
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Tarver, you are Rory's father.
Thank you.
Mr. Tarver, you have 2 children now. You don't have any more time to be a young man, you're a man.
Yes, Your Honor.
You understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
All of you need to continue to better yourselves for the sake of your children.
Miss Johnson believes the defendant's deceased brother, Mr. Damian Ellerson, is the biological father of her son, Damian. She asserts he was her first love and is emotional when remembering him. Miss Fortune, the defendant, is aware of the claim due to her mother and remains skeptical because of Miss Johnson's admitted relationships with other men.
He was my first love. I would do anything for him. We were together all the time. I know in my heart that he is his father.
What was it about him you loved?
Just his energy and his smile. I mean, he was like he didn't have a care in the world. I miss him all the time.
Damian recalls a memory of visiting a man he believed to be his father. This man, who signed his birth certificate, took him to the doctor to check for diseases. Damian, being 12 at the time, found it odd and expressed his concerns to his mother. Miss Johnson later received results that the man wasn't Damian's biological father.
And so, Ms. Johnson, you remember that day, and at some point, did you get the results?
Yes, and it came back that he wasn't his.
And then he just stopped talking to me. He just left me, just no dad.
So, Ms. Johnson, that's what leads you to now believe Mr. Ellerson is Damian's biological father.
Right.
Damian's mother mentioned her deep love for Mr. Ellerson. Damian, born in 1996, believes he resembles Mr. Ellerson in photos. He met Ellerson's family once at age 12 or 13. Miss Fortune's mother received pictures from Miss Johnson about this meeting.
So, Ms. Fortuné, what did your mother say to you about this meeting?
She said Ms. Johnson, gave her pictures and stuff, and that he might be my brother's son. So in a way, my mom believed it, kinda, but it was just too emotional. And far as me, kinda, but I don't think so.
In this psychotic moment at paternity court, it was revealed that Miss Johnson named her son Damien after her first love, Mr. Ellison, who was murdered. They were involved until he disappeared. However, Miss Fortune claims Johnson had relationships with two of her cousins, suggesting there's doubt regarding the true paternity.
Miss Johnson, not only that, you slept with two of my cousins.
I slept with one.
Two.
Two.
Oh, so are you testifying that you believe your cousin, not your brother, could be Damien's biological father?
Yes.
Miss Johnson, you did sleep with Mr. Ellison's cousin?
Yes, I did.
Miss Johnson admitted to having unprotected sex with another man who was close to her deceased lover, Mr. Ellison. This man shared that after Mr. Ellison's passing, he and Miss Johnson became emotionally involved, which led to a few intimate encounters. The truth about Damien's paternity is sought in the DNA results.
Mr. Henley, you are not the father. These results pertain to the deceased Damien Ellerson. The percentage of relatedness is 0.00%. You are not related.
Mr. White believes his ex-wife, Miss Mock, wrongly had his parental rights for their alleged daughter revoked, allowing another man to adopt her. She's seeking a DNA test to prove he's the girl's biological father and wants $5,000 from Miss Mock for emotional distress.
Mr. White, obviously you feel you've been lied to. Please explain to the court.
In the early 1980s, Julia and I were married, and she birthed me a son 10 months afterwards. A year later, she was pregnant with Tasha, and I ended up going to jail. She was 2 months pregnant when I went to jail. 7 months after I went to jail, she gave birth to Tasha.
Mr. White said that he was incarcerated when Miss Mock was pregnant. After giving birth to Tasha, she named him as the father. While he was in prison, she sought a divorce and tried to terminate his parental rights to their child. Did she do this due to a psychotic breakdown, or did she believe that he was not the father?
I went to the law library and I taught myself law, and acting as my own attorney, I fought it in court and I won. And at that time, it was the opinion of the judge at that time that Julia, or Miss Mock, had intentionally moved with the children on at least 3 different occasions. So all the letters and the cards that I had sent over the course of time to their grandparents' place never got to them.
While married to White, Miss Mock had an affair with another man. After returning from the grocery store one day, she found Mr. White holding their son, prompting the other man to leave. Due to their marriage, she listed Mr. White as Tasha's father on the birth certificate, even though she believed the other man could be the biological father.
Because you were married to Mr. White, you put his name on the birth certificate.
Yes, because the other gentleman walked out of my life too.
Who did you actually think was your father?
I believed my adopted father was my father until I heard my grandmother on the phone, and she stated that there was another gentleman.
Tasha discovered Mr. White's last name on her birth certificate while looking through a trunk with her mother. When questioned, her mother didn't deny Mr. White being her father, but emphasized that Tasha was a Mock now. Miss Mock recalls stopping jail visitations and her new husband expressing a desire to adopt the child.
How could she be adopted if you hadn't relinquished your right?
That's one of my biggest arguments, Your Honor. Illegally allowed Tasha to be adopted. These people have accosted me 30 years of being able to experience with my daughter growing up. They've denied her the right to know her natural father. This is a God-given right to everybody.
Miss Mock claims she wanted to protect her children, hinting that part of her motivation was doubt over Mr. White being Tasha's father. Another man was able to adopt Tasha without Mr. White abandoning his legal rights because a judge approved it. Tasha sought the truth after being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis at age 26.
I put a lot of thought into it. I was blind and I couldn't walk, so I had nothing but time to sit and think about it. And then when I had turned 28, I got my vision back, and 29, I reached out to Mr. White on Facebook.
You did?
I did.
August 23rd.
Mr. White encountered Tasha for the first time at his son's funeral, where she displayed anger toward him due to her beliefs about his character. Tasha requested him to leave the funeral, associating him with negative impressions she had been told about. Later, Tasha shared her reservations about reaching out, fearing he'd be angry. So, what did the DNA reveal?
Mr. White, you are not the father. Are you okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. White, are you all right?
Yes, Your Honor, I will be.
You say that you will help her find her biological father if she asks for that help. And I hope you live up to that, Mr. White.